Okay, we'll start with welcome everyone to the August meeting of the Acquisition SIG from koha-US user group. We spend time just talking about using acquisitions within Koha and any kind of questions or anything that we have. A couple of things before we actually get into the questions. Wanted to highlight the conference that is in 2 weeks. I think it's 2 weeks from today. And September 2, 3, 4, 5, September 2 through 5 in, gotta get this right, Providence, Rhode Island. And we'd love to see you there if you can make it. It's in-person hybrid thing, so it's in person and you can access it free online. If you do choose to do the online version, we still need you to register for that. And then that's how you'll get the different links to the meetings and everything. So how many people are planning on going to the conference? We have.
I'm going online.
Online, okay. I'm going to be in person.
I'll be there.
Jason will be there. Christie?
I was going to ask, this was koha-US?
koha-US, yeah. Yeah. And I don't know how to pronounce
Malachi.
your name.
Probably.
Malachi?
It's Malachi.
Malachi. Oh, okay. All right. So you're going to be there in person or online?
I'll be there in person.
Okay, great. Look forward to seeing you there. And looks like we had 2 chats and I may have missed one. Marci's going to be there online. Cool. All right. I am going to be presenting with Jesse from Bywater, Jesse Zaro, and on acquisitions. And it's going to be kind of a 2-part thing where I'm going to start with kind of, this is acquisitions today, why you should use it, all that kind of good stuff. And then Jesse's going to kind of highlight some of the acquisitions 2.0 features that are coming in the near future. So hopefully it'll be interesting for everybody. One question, I just wanted to pick your brains on ideas for, why use acquisitions? And one thing is, streamlining your workflows. Does anybody have any specific examples of how acquisitions streamlined their workflows? We've been on it for 10 years and we were on a different acquisitions module before that. It's hard for me to remember not having acquisitions. So if you have some ideas on how having the acquisitions module help streamline your workflows, and how maybe doing EDI acquisitions help streamline your workflows. So think about that. And then if you get some ideas, you can dump them in the chat or you can email me later. And we'll see where we go from there. So those were the kind of the 2 main things that I wanted to talk about up front. Then I wanted to open up the discussion for anybody that has questions about acquisitions. What we're planning on doing, we started doing back to basics last month, and we got as far as setting up budgets and funds. And so what I'm planning on doing today is setting up vendors and then doing creating baskets and putting things in baskets, and just all the different things, and we'll see how far we get with that today. But if anybody has any questions, then we can start with that. Is anybody early adopter here? I don't know. We're not this time around, just because we got too much other stuff going on.
I had a quick question, or maybe not so quick, on suggestions. And I think we've covered this before, but does anyone order directly from suggestions? And I'm asking because I think we had brought up before that sometimes it's not a complete description of the title, like it may not have the ISBN or the author's missing. And so then my question would be, how do you order if it's incomplete or complete? If someone is ordering directly from the suggestion module.
Okay. Does anybody do the order from suggestion?
To clarify, are you talking about just the, are you talking about both Aspen or do you use Aspen? Because we only use the Aspen version. I know that there's Koha and Aspen, so just a title version.
I think, no, we do not use Aspen.
Okay. We don't order from a suggestion. My things that I've thought about, in thinking, do we want to do this or not? With EDI, it's kind of doesn't always work. But from the suggestion, my thought was, we, as the people that are approving the suggestions and stuff, would have to complete that information, like the ISBN. You'd have to add the ISBN. You'd have to make sure the title was correct and spelled correctly. You have to make sure that the author was in there. If you could make those all required fields, and then just so that you get some information in there. Even then, we have discovered that people don't really understand what an ISBN is. They will put the Amazon number in instead of the ISBN. So you've got to still do a sanity check and verify that all the information is valid. And then you'd be able to go from there, order from that. But yeah, you'd have to make sure, especially the ISBN, that that's valid. And for the, sometimes a book has the hard copy and the paperback, so you'd have to make sure that you had a valid ISBN for what you were ordering, for what you wanted to order, I guess. If you just want to get the hardback and they put the paperback ISBN, you'd have to change that.
I know that this has nothing to do with this has a little bit something to do with Christie's question, but I know I put in a suggestion to Grove, who does the development for Aspen's suggested title, and I asked them if there's a way that they can use the title and the author to pull in the information of the book, so that when that suggestion goes through, it auto-populates as much as possible based off those two. Of course, it's not going to be perfect, but at least like some fields could be caught, or some books could be caught if they use those two fields to, because those are the two fields that we require from patrons to fill out on our Aspen form. So I don't know if that's, they seemed interested when I pitched it to them. So hopefully it might become a reality. But just something that I did request from Grove.
We don't use EDI, and but we order through Baker and Taylor, but we don't do any like connections. So our selectors make a cart in Baker and Taylor, and then they make a cart in Koha as well, and they order it they click the button, and then so there's not like a lot of connection there, and so we do order from purchase suggestions, but basically that just goes into the cart in Koha, which is used when they receive the items coming in. They use that record to mark it, and then it tells the patron who suggested it that it's here, and it puts it on hold for them and all of that. And we typically, I mean, we're a smaller library. Our city's about 100,000 people. We typically have a staff member who goes through our purchase suggestions and reviews them and decides whether they're things that maybe we should interlibrary loan them instead, maybe we should refuse to get them. And they will go and do things like correct the ISBN. And so there is some, like, we have to do some work with the records, but that mostly happens on the receiving end, where we'll go in and correct and make sure it matches to the correct record and everything like that. So I know that might not work how you would want it, but we do use our purchase suggestions to order, and it's really nice for the patron side because then they can get those notifications and the holds and everything. So
Thank you, Juliet. So do you actually transfer the items then from the suggestion module into a cart, or do you add them?
when they've created when they're doing their ordering, they will order from a purchase suggestion, which pulls it into the cart then. And then it marks it as ordered in the purchase suggestion module. And most of my staff do it that way. The people who order the DVDs, they don't. They just create their own records because that's just how they want to do it. But I used to order our picture books, and that's how I did it. I would just go through all of the picture book purchase suggestions and order them, and that would add it to my cart, and then I would submit it. I usually keep my cart for that separate than the ones that I was buying on my own, because then I could just download my Baker and Taylor records for the ones I'm buying on my own. But for the purchase suggestion ones, we kind of had to go back and overlay the records and everything and clean that up later after we received them.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. And we're not on EDI because we started, it wasn't very good, and we've just never had the time or energy to figure it out since then.
It definitely takes some time and energy. So we are about to add our 5th vendor in EDI. So we'll see how that all goes. Yeah, thank you, Juliet. That's helpful to have somebody that's actually doing that, share what they're doing. But yeah, that was, we tried it, like we created the email, said this is a test. We're just trying to see, if this actually works, and we use real patrons and stuff. And we just did like 5 of them, and they were like, oh, this is great, but it was all stuff that we couldn't EDI order it that way. It was all stuff maybe that we got from Amazon or something else. So it's very cool, and patrons love it because they get notifications when it's received, and when it's been ordered, when it's been received, all that good stuff. So they really like it. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. All right. So this is going to be my vision for this next exercise is to get people talking about how you do things, because I'm sure what do we have, 3 by 4, 12, 13 people here. I'm sure there's 13 different ways of doing things, including Jason's, which they don't use it yet. So that's one way to do it. So what I'm going to do is share my screen. Oh, I always forget this last share button. Okay. So can you see? Yes, the koha-US demonstration server. So this is like another promotional thing for koha-US. We do have a demonstration server, and you can get access to it if you look at, this is koha-US homepage, and then down here at the bottom, there is, there's the demonstration site. This is just for demonstration purposes. And, we take this and, go to a conference or something like that. We can show people what it actually looks like. So it's a real live working server that we can use. So what we did last time was set up a budget. So I put in this much more expanded budget because I just wanted everybody to kind of see different things that you could do with the budgets and funds. So you could have a simple budget like this, where you just have your, I just pick 6 different things. You got your adult AV, adult fiction, adult nonfiction, youth AV, youth fiction, and youth nonfiction. Just a real simple, basic budget. But then if you wanted to get more granular, you could divide adult AV into adult audio and adult video. So this is like a sub thing underneath here. So over here in the amounts, you have adult AV has $15,000 in it. And then the 2 sub things can have amounts in them that total up to $15,000. So we've got 5,000 in the video and 10,000 in the audiobooks. And then, if you want to do something under adult fiction, you could break it all up into the different genres. If you wanted to see how much you're spending on fantasy versus mystery, you'd have to specify this in your basket. You'd have to probably send a basket with just fantasy books in it and stuff like that. I think that would be the simplest way to do it, but you could do something like that. Or you could just, depending on if you have grids set up, you could set up grids that have different funds related to them, and they would get assigned to the different grids if you're doing EDI ordering. So I just wanted to show that you could get this, as detailed and broken down as you wanted it to be, or you could have just a simple thing. So the other thing I was going to say is if you have a sub fund underneath, so let's look at adult fiction. So you've got all these sub funds, and your parent fund or whatever is got this much money in it, then all the sub funds under it need to total what the parent fund is, and then order off of these sub funds. You can order off of the main fund, but I don't know, to me that gets a little confusing. So we always just order off of the sub funds to make this work. This isn't our budget. I was just, but we have sub funds in ours. Any questions about this? We looked at how to set all this stuff up last time. Okay. So then once you have your budget all set up, the next thing to do is to have some vendors. So we've got, well, here, if we just do a blank search on vendors, you can see that there's already a bunch of vendors in here. We could add, we've got 2 Amazons already. We got Baker and Taylor. Who's got a vendor that they would like to add? We can add, well, we're going to add Brodart. And then if you know the postal code, 123 Brodart Way, we'll say, any town. And then, you know, physical address, if you have a phone number, you can put it in there. If you have a website, your account number, if you have different vendor type, you know, like this is a book vendor, or this is where we order our Blu-rays or whatever you want to put in there. You can put that in there. So we'll say this is a book vendor, or, you know, however you think about it is what you want to put in there. And aliases, I don't know. You can add an alias to that if you like. Then we have contact information. So you could put in your sales rep, James Smith, and sales rep, rep. And they have a phone number as well. And then, you know, their email address and any notes. And then you can designate them as, you know, your primary acquisition contact, any of these, or for serials, that kind of thing. You can add additional interfaces. I looked into this. I wasn't quite sure what that was about. I'm guessing, well, let's click on it. It looks like, I don't know, admin orders reports. If that makes sense to somebody, my brain hasn't clicked into what that could be. So I'm going to delete that. And then ordering information, you can set the currency here that you use for this particular vendor, whether it's active or inactive, whether or not you have submitted your tax number to them, is tax included, what's your tax rate, your discount that you get from them, the delivery time, and then any notes. And then you can save the vendor And you will see. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I just wanted to go here and look at the different information. So this is kind of a nice way to keep track of your contacts for different vendors, because after a while they all start to blur together. And you can, edit like we just saw, and if your contact changes, you can edit that, or you can just delete the vendor if you don't want them anymore, which I will do later. And see how book is in parentheses here, so you know that this is a book vendor. Any questions about that? Anybody have any clever things that they do with the vendor information?
I think Juliet just made a comment on the interface section, but I was just looking in the manual as well, and it looks like you can put in there like the URL, like if you're ordering from like Baker and Taylor, you can put the like TS360 URL and put your login and password. And then choose that you're like the person ordering, or that's the admin. So it just gives you, I think, access to the online interface with certain
Okay.
vendors.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it might be used for the ERM. Okay, yeah, thanks, Julie. Yeah, eventually the ERM module and the acquisitions module are going to be tied a little more tightly together, but that's part of the acquisitions 2.0 work, which I think will be good. Okay, so let's just cancel out of here. So we have our vendor. We'll go back here. And if we do a search now, we can see we've got Baker and Taylor and we've got Brodart now. So you can see here that it will tell you how many baskets you have with the vendor. Here for Amazon, it says 4 baskets, but you only see 3. That's because one of them has been, everything's been received and it's done, basically. Here you've got 4 baskets and 2 subscriptions. So that is sometimes useful information. But if we wanted to, so now we have our vendor. So the way that acquisitions is set up now is you have to start with a vendor. As you'll see in the presentation in a couple of weeks, 2.0 is going to be more flexible about that. You can still start with a vendor, but you can start with a basket. You can just build a basket with some books in it and then submit it to a vendor. So it's going to be, allow for a couple different workflows to go through that. So my next thought was we would create a basket and put something in it. So does that work for everybody? So pick your vendor, whichever, you can go in this way, or you can go to the search box here and just enter your vendor's name and it will just show that specific one. So you can do it either way. The first thing that you're going to need, no pending baskets here. So we're going to need a basket. So required for a basket is a name. So I don't know what everybody uses. We tend to use the date, 19, and then something, like adult, non, maybe something like that. And then, you know, the billing places, this system has a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm going to say it's Central City Main Branch. And we're going to have these delivered to the same place. And the vendor is Brodart. That's who we're in. And then if you have internal notes or vendor notes, order is standing. We're not going to check that box. And then you have the option. There's 3 options here. Create items when. Oh, there's 4. There's 3. Place when the order is placed. So we'll create an item. When the order is received, we create the item, or when cataloging, the item is created. So the default here, which is set in system preferences, is on placing an order. And that's what we use too. Does anybody use any of the other 2 options? I have yet to see a system that uses on receiving or on cataloging. This way, you know, I think when placing an order, you can allow holds on the items if there's an item there. So I think a lot of libraries use this as their default. All right, so now we're going to save this and we will have a basket. Yay. And then you've got the basket now. Now we want to put things in our basket. So add to basket would be where we go next. And we have a whole string of different things that we can use to add things to a basket. So from an existing record, so then you would, I have no idea what's in this system. Pick a color, that's always good. All right, so as you can see, we've got 78 matches. So here we've got a poems from White Buffalo. So one of the options here is add order. We click on that and we get to this stage, you know, so it's already filled in the title, the author, the publication year, the ISBN, because that was in that existing record. Then something we've learned through the School of Hard Knocks is very important to put ordered here, because if you don't, then it looks like it's available in the catalog and then you get sad patrons. And the other important thing is to make sure that you've got the item type in here. After that, so we just set this up to match the basket. You can add anything else in here that you want. And then you can add this item or you can add multiple items. But the next thing that you need to do is click this add item. Then it will take you to accounting details. Since we just did the one item, we've got a quantity of 1. We then pick our budget. It was a book of poems. So I'm going to go with nonfiction, circulating nonfiction. Currency, vendor price, we'll say $25. And then there's a bunch more fields. If the uncertain price thing, we've never used it. Don't know. If somebody has a good use case and they want to share, that would be great. I don't feel like I know enough about that to talk about it. You do have your tax rate, your discount. So if you say you get a 25% discount, you can see that the budgeted cost is now $18.75 and the total is $18.75. You could then put in here the actual cost, which is 20, that's what it would cost to actually purchase it if you didn't have a discount. Again, internal note, vendor note. You can put in an estimated delivery date. We usually don't. And then a couple of statistical fields if you want to track different data related to your orders. So click save. Now our basket has something in it. And we can see, if we go back to acquisitions, homepage. Oh, what was that? Wow. We put it in here. So we've got this 1875 showing up in our ordered column, and that's reflected in the overall total for the nonfiction, because we've got the nonfiction with two subfields. And then, yeah, the total available has been reduced by that amount too. So that all seems to be working grandly. Let's look at, okay, so we talked about from a suggestion. I don't know if there's, yeah, I didn't think so. I should have anticipated that. You can click on from a suggestion. Let's just put a suggestion in here for completeness. Where's my, oh, I guess I just need to get all the way out of here and then search the catalog. Oh no, that's not what I want to do. I wonder, where's patrons?
It's under more, the drop down.
Okay. Oh, there is one there. Oh, that's ordered though. Okay, so let's just do a new purchase suggestion. So the title will be, this is a book. And then the rest of these fields, even the author in this particular demonstration server is not required. The only thing that this requires is a title. I would strongly suggest that you ask for more information because there's, as we all know, lots of books with the same title. And then you can put in, people, because this is similar to the form that our patrons will get. They can put in the ISBN, the publisher, different things like that. And yeah, they can add notes and staff can add non-public notes. So I'm just going to submit this. So now we've got a pending suggestion and an ordered suggestion. So if we go back to acquisitions and look for our vendor. And then if we add to basket and we pick a suggestion, Oh, they've got to be accepted. Okay. We will quickly get back here. Check the box. Accept it. Choose a reason. It's a bestseller. And submit it. Now it's under the accepted tab. We've got one accepted thing. So now let's go back to all right. So now we can do this. So add to basket from a suggestion. All right, so there's our suggestion. So Christie, this is what you were asking about, right? If you were going to order from a suggestion, you'd have to make sure that this information is correct, right?
Yeah, so yeah, if you can move forward with it, and let's see what
What
happens.
Okay. All right, so we will click the order button that's over here. And it gives you the same new order screen. And you would have to I guess you could still order it. You could still add it to the basket without that information in it. But you wouldn't be able to. It would be kind of, because they're going to, Koha is going to create a record from this information. So the more information you can put in here, the better. I'm doing quotes. The record is going to be. It's still not going to be a great record, but
And then I'm wondering, can this be, because I'm used to, as most of us using EDI, is you're downloading the on order records and then, placing the order through Koha. So for those of us using EDI, could we order this? This is kind of through the back door, like you have the record in Koha. It may not be what our vendor is looking for. So does anyone know if that's a possibility to submit it through EDI?
you cannot submit it through EDI. I do know that because I've
Okay.
asked that question before. And that's why we don't order from a suggestion. We will just find, accept the suggestion and then go into whichever vendor is appropriate and add it to that cart and then, do the whole EDI process. But our patrons don't get the notification. So
there's an update coming in the next one in the release that's coming up in September, 2505, that you'll be able to link I ordered an item in your cart to a suggestion. So that might be like, say you've gone through the ordering process, you've got the Koha cart, then you could click the button to link to a suggestion and connect it to that patron suggestion. I don't know about the EDI part, but that's something that's coming in the next upgrade.
okay, that would be interesting.
And then
So
something
it's-
I wanted, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to note about this, when you're ordering from a suggestion, it automatically populates the item type with the first item type on your item type list. So you have to pay attention as you're ordering what item type you were ordering and do that correctly.
Yeah, because it was set to this, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just mindlessly changed it to book. But yeah, that's a good heads up. Okay. So this is like the MARC information, the biblio information, the overall title. And then you have that same item information, and you can see there's the suggestion tied in here. And then we want to make sure that it says ordered, and we want to make sure that it says book, and add that. And the fund we're going to say is this is probably a picture book. We're going to call it a picture book. And we're going to say it's $15. And we don't get a discount. Okay, so then click on that. And that adds that book to our basket.
So what happens, Rhonda, in the suggestion module at this point, and this may have to do with what Juliet had mentioned. So we right now check a box in the suggestions module. We don't order directly from that, and it'll say like, oh, it's been accepted, and then we have an email set up that they'll be sent. So right now, if you're now it's in the ordered file. So can you set up like a system preference? I mean, are they getting the email right now? That,
Well,
oh, your book's been ordered.
Let's go check. Patrons. I think. Guessing I'm the only Kuiper in here. Oh, I've expired. I'm going to renew myself. And then notices. So yeah, so we've got suggestion accepted, close, and suggested item ordered. Please inform me that it is now ordered. Should arrive soon. Which time process. So yeah, they're getting those 2 notices.
And there's another notice, I think, that they get suggestion available. So once you've gone ahead and received it, they'll get that one too. We don't want our patrons to get the ordered one, and so we just removed the all notice for that, and it does that they just don't get it. So there is, if you don't want them to get some of those notices, you can remove them. I double checked with Bywater before we did that just because I wasn't sure, but they said that was fine.
Yeah, because this might be a little premature.
Yeah.
Putting it in a basket, it might not actually get ordered for a week or something like that. So yeah, I can see where you wouldn't want that to go out.
So we usually put holds on the suggestions for the patron that ordered them. Is that something that most libraries do, or you guys just send this out and say, oh, it's been accepted and it's up to the patron to do that themselves?
We leave it up to the patrons. We get way too many purchase suggestions to keep up with putting holds on for them. I don't know. How about other people?
We place holds, and I think in the last update, they made it so that you can place holds easier. I think they're automatically placed for, I haven't looked at it in a while.
Yeah, there's a, if we, let's go back to our radar thing. Look at this basket. I think, yeah, there's a place hold button. So if we look at this one, which didn't have a suggestion attached to it, we just have to search on the person's name. I'm thinking this is the one. Oh, yeah, that's not cool. You still got to search on the person's name. I thought it would be smart enough to say, oh, this was placed from a suggestion. But I suppose if you wanted to place a hold for somebody else, you could do that too. But yeah, this was added, I think in the last release or the release before, I can't remember.
Oh, and there's a system preference called place holds on orders from suggestions, and you can turn that on and it'll automatically do it.
Yes, we discovered that last time. Okay, so shall we turn that on? Just to see how it works? All right, so the preference is place hold on orders from suggestion, and it was set to don't. We just changed it to do. So we save that, and then we go back. I don't know if it'll work now. It's probably not going to work now because we are doing it after the fact. Yeah, I didn't think it would. But if we would place a new suggestion, I don't know how far in the weeds we want to go here. Oh, we're running out of time. But if we would place a suggestion now, and then add it to the basket, if we did that place hold, it would pull up the patron's name. So let's just receive one of these just to see how that goes. So the first thing to do that you need to do before you receive anything is to close the basket. So the basket was closed today, and then up here is receive shipments. So if we click on that, we put in our invoice, which is, we're just going to put today's date. And yeah, we'll just say next. All right, so we have the option of receiving these two different items. Let's do this one. And it opens up this modal or whatever it is. So here's the suggestion information related to this. And it's got my name in it. And the reason was it was a bestseller. We click receive, that updates this quantity received here. The prices are all that's all good. And keep the current fund that we had. And then let's do this.
Well, I was going to say, I've noticed that it's hard to see what fund you had chosen now.
Right, because it
And
chops it off.
yeah, and then I'm like, okay, it just doesn't seem useful anymore. I think before I used to be able to see the fund.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's really no way. Yeah, if I say receive this one. Yeah, you've got to use the drop down to see the entire thing. But see, this one wasn't associated with the purchase suggestion, so it doesn't have that purchase suggestion field or information. When I click on the receive and then confirm, and then now both of the items have been moved from pending orders to already received. And we can see our total for this budget, total for that budget, total for the entire, what's this thing called? Invoice that we're creating. And then if we're happy with this, we can say finish receiving. And we can close the invoice. Oh, down here, again, we see, 2 items, all that. And then we're gonna close it, close the invoice. And there you have it. So if we go back to patrons, and look at not modification, we want notices. We have one more message now that since we received it, it says you suggested the library acquire this, we're pleased to inform you. The item you request is now part of the collection. So that happens at receipt, which I would change that note to say we've received it at the library. We need to, once the processing is done and it's available for checkout, you'll receive a hold notification that your item is ready. But that filled up an hour. So I'm going to stop sharing. So, okay, we manually place holds at time of ordering. Then one of our librarians sends notices to our patrons from the suggestion page. Okay. Yeah, I
Okay.
think go ahead, Charlie.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I had a question after you're done.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just gonna say, I hope that this was helpful information. We only got through 2 of the ways to add things to baskets. There's lots, as you saw on the list, lots of other ways, but we did see how to receive things. That the way we received it is probably the most labor intensive way of receiving. There are other ways, receiving multiple items at once, or EDI just does it under the covers. You don't really see any of the receipt. You just see that something has been received. So there's lots of ways to receive things. Any questions?
So I guess this is for the whole group. Do you know roughly how much time a staff member spends on one suggestion basket? Like from the very first part, from receiving the suggestion all the way to receiving the item from the vendor? Like how much time does one staff member spend on one basket? Average, of course.
I think ours is split up, Charlie. So like whoever the selector is, like for children's or for adult, they'll be looking through the suggestions and, oh, do we want this or not? And then it'll go into the accepted category. And then they'll put it in their baskets and whatever vendor we're using. And then acquisitions is when I come in and I'm like, okay, I'm going to order these. And then I have to go into the suggestions module and say they've been ordered, or we do something different, but I put a hold on it for everybody. And the reason we do that is because someone may back in, let's say January, suggest a bestseller that's coming out in July, and that we don't get that book until July, but that person already, as a courtesy, we're not a huge library, so we have the time to do this, but it is more time consuming for me to go in there and then I'll put, oh, this was an RFP. Sometimes I'll have to put that person at the top of the list because they had priority. They suggested it in January where we already have 30 holds because the book was entered. So to answer your question, there are many moving pieces. So I couldn't say like how much time it would take, but it is more time consuming, definitely.
Thank you. I got that from but I wondered if there was like not a perfect workflow, but like maybe just trying to see if it's worth it bringing it into our branch. Because I know we use suggestion for Aspen, but I don't know if it's kind of something we want to get into on our side.
And we have Aspen but we process all of the purchase suggestions in Koha. So Aspen sends them back to Koha. And we process them all there. Our process is very similar to what Christie has. We have the suggestions come in, and we've got one person that looks at them and divides them up among the selectors. And then each selector will have their own tab where it said ordered and accepted and stuff. There'll also be a Rhonda tab and a Susie and a Billy and a whatever, whoever the selectors are, so that the selectors can just go in there and look at their tab and just deal with those, instead of when we first got on Koha, each selector was kind of scanning that entire list. We could have 20 purchase suggestions in at one, especially over the weekend. And everybody was doing that same kind of thing. And then we have, they add it to their basket, and then, Holly will order it, and yeah. So I don't know.
Thank you. That answered my question.
Okay. Monique says, what is the average turnaround time on requests for published titles? Our admin gave us the goal of a 2-week turnaround time on patron suggestions. We've got it down to around 3 to 4 weeks. Yeah. That really depends on where you're ordering it from. I would say, I think we've all seen a slowdown in the turnaround for orders from a lot of different vendors. I would have said we could have done that 2-week turnaround before the pandemic. I'm not sure we could do that right now. Okay. So Juliet says, we ask our staff to review suggestions within 2 days of receipt of the suggestion, but we don't really have a set goal for when the items are ordered or added, since vendors can vary wildly on how soon we get things. Yeah. And a lot of already published stuff ends up back ordered. Yeah. B&T has been terribly slow. Thumbs up to that. Yeah. Baker. Okay. Baker and Taylor. All right. Yeah. You're sort of at the mercy of the vendor. I mean, what Juliet said, about having a rule or, procedure where you limit, you want to get at them and respond to the customer within a certain number of days. That's the best. I don't know. I would say that's probably the most you have control over once you've ordered it, unless you're ordering from Amazon, which even then sometimes you have delays. It's really dependent on the vendor, which has been much slower lately.
I was going to mention really quick, I know many of you don't have tax on the items, or perhaps not even discounts with the vendors, but it helps me to put it on the vendor record. We have tax, so I'll put the tax amount. I know that Rhonda, you were giving the example of, the fund, and you can put the tax here, and also the discount too could help. Some libraries like to use that discount, and let's say Baker and Taylor gives you a 10% discount across the board. You can put that on the vendor record, and it'll show up on that level. So
yeah, thanks, Christie. That is helpful, because what that does for you is it gives you a more accurate number in your ordered column. Because, if you put the list price in the record, The list price is going to be what gets taken out of the ordered column. But if you put if you know you're going to get a 10% discount from the vendor and you put that in the vendor record, what gets charged to your ordered column will be the 10% discounted price. So that gives you a more accurate reflection of what you've actually, how much you've spent on your ordered items. And then yeah, Monique, it says for them, it's an average of 4 to 7 weeks. We order fiction and nonfiction twice a month. Everything else is once a month. So it depends on the items as well. Yeah, we have a similar thing where we order fiction and nonfiction twice a month. So, depending on when that suggestion comes in, based on when we've ordered, it can be, yeah, I would say ours is 4 to 7 weeks as well for suggestion turnaround. Okay, we are 9 minutes over. Let's call that. So next month we have whatchamacallit at our conference in September, the first week in September. And I don't know. I was debating whether or not we wanted to meet in September because of the conference. We still can. You might have more questions after the conference. So let's just go with, we're going to meet in September and on the 16th of September, and we will see some of you at the conference, and other ones we'll see next September 16th. So we will see everybody then. All right. So have a good week. Stay cool.